That was Toot Sweet by Claude Balling from Ujjawal's second year recital at the Glenn Gould School of Music. Ujjawal, I attended your second year recital at the Glenn Gould School last year, as you're very well aware of. You told me the story about your relatives flying in from India who don't know anything about your trumpet playing or really what it means to you because, it's so different over there. And they asked you these really innocuous but and well-intentioned questions, but they came off as kind of ignorant. I remember one of these questions being, are you going to learn any other instruments throughout the course of your 4 years in school?
Yeah.
So that brings me to my question. Does it annoy you or does it bruise your ego even a little bit when you tell people that you're a musician and you always have to explain to them exactly what you do? Or do you feel as though like they don't really comprehend what your craft?
It's really good that you bring this up because we were talking about this in one of our classes the other day, this very topic. I think for me, it doesn't bother me. It does bother me, of course, a little bit.
Bothers everybody.
It bothers everyone. We work, as musicians, we work very hard at becoming better at our instruments, becoming better musicians. And when we get questions like that, it bruises our ego a little. And
you question yourself a little bit.
A little bit. And what we want to, like the way I would have liked to replied was just say, why don't you try playing the trumpet, And that was my instinct. But I think we also have to be very considerate that the other person does not know.
And they're not always aware.
They're not always aware. And in some ways it is a compliment because if I was struggling at the instrument, then they would have said, oh, wow, geez, you got a ways to go, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
So it all depends on how you take it. And I think we just have to be considerate as musicians. And we have to understand that they don't know, that they just don't know, and that if they don't know, they don't know, and it's not their fault. And it's funny that you bring that up, actually, because I was attending a performance of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra just a few weeks ago.
Right.
And there was a solo. I'm not going to say which player or anything, but there was a solo, and afterwards there was a Q&A. And someone raised their hand and said, "Why are those notes why are notes on that instrument so hard to play?" And I could hear the musician in his mind almost thinking,
you're an idiot.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right.
And it was in front of lots of people, but we just have to understand they don't know, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, but as a musician, sometimes do you think about what it would be like if you just had a regular job and you could tell people that you're an engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it all the time, actually. It's sometimes difficult with especially my relatives. That I say I'm a musician, they're like, "Oh, cool. What's your day job?" Like this is my day job.
Yeah, because it's so hard for them to understand and comprehend the magnitude of what it entails, what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I get those moments, and I sometimes think it would be a lot easier to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm an engineer," or "Oh, I'm a doctor," and those professions are what people understand. On the other hand, though, not to belittle those professions or anything, but like those professions are so common nowadays. How many people do you hear saying, "Oh, I'm going to do music. Oh, I'm going to go into the arts. I'm going to go," even you're going into journalism.
Right.
You could have gone into something else, more mainstream, but you also chose a slightly unconventional field. And I think in some ways we are brave and courageous for picking those streams. And if we can be successful in what we do, then who's to say otherwise?